Welcome back to Ill Eagle Culture Brands Red Tape Talk. I'm your host, John Ostos, a.k.a. Ill Eagle CEO, and I'm here with my two counterparts, Dion, Two Cup Larry, and Cody, Big Meat Malk. Yep. And today we have a special guest here with us, Dalton. I apologize, I don't remember your last name again.
Nelson.
Dalton Nelson, who works with Turning Point USA. So this should be an interesting episode, and hopefully we piss a lot of people off today. So welcome to the show, man. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. This is awesome. I've been waiting for this for like a month since we last talked about it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good month ago, I think now, huh? Mm-hmm. We was in the sauna. We met in the sauna, and he told me he watches the pod. I was like, oh, cool. And I was just like, yeah, we're real fucking smart and know a lot of shit about, conservative rights and shit. And he's just like, well, let me tell you who I am.
I don't always like to bring it up and be like, I'm that guy.
Yeah.
So I usually don't. But I've seen the podcast with you guys had Cody Malk from Hankinson, and I've known him for a long time and played against him in high school. So I started the conversation that way. Oaks, North Dakota.
Oh, okay. Nice. Okay.
So I started the conversation that way and then wanted to get into the podcast because I saw you were on an app called Public Square.
Yeah.
Which is what we use in Turning Point because it's a conservative-based like business app. So I was like, this is my perfect time. We're in the sauna one-on-one. I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to ask him about it. Here we are today.
It's awesome.
So it was your intention to get into the pod on purpose?
No.
That's dope. I like that.
My intention was to talk to you and see where it would go. Just specifically about Turning Point and let you know I work for him and see what your thoughts were. Because I knew you guys were a conservative company for the most part, or at least conservative base, like had conservative values. So I was like, well, so do I. Let's talk about it and see what happens.
Sure.
So tell us, just for those who are listening or watching who don't really understand what Turning Point USA is, explain a little bit about what the company is, how it was founded, and what you guys do, what your main responsibility is as an employee of them.
Yeah, so Turning Point USA is a nonpartisan group that goes around the country to college campuses and even, I guess, off college campuses, depending on where we're at, and hosts events that are based off conservative values. It started 12 years ago. Our CEO and founder, his name's Charlie Kirk. He started when he was 18 out of his garage. I think he talks about that he had like 10 people show up, maybe less than that, to his first couple meetings, and it started in a garage that I think was his parents' house at the time, and led to what it is today, where we travel the entire country. And there's reps in every state. We have Turning Point Faith, which focuses on religion and church. I believe, I don't know everything about that. Turning Point High School, which is like what I do, but in high schools. And then I work for Turning Point College. And my focus is just college campuses. And there's also Turning Point Action. And they are partisan and they just focus on endorsing political candidates. So I don't endorse political candidates. When I'm like out at college and stuff, I'll never be like, go Trump, go Kamala, ever. But in my own time, I definitely say those things a lot.
Sure.
One of those things anyway.
I was going to say you say.
Yeah, one of those things anyway.
Nice. So you essentially, do you always get into debates when you go to college campuses, or is it just more like you're there to share a message of some sort?
I'm not looking for debates usually.
Okay.
I mean, those happen when there's downtime in the college. Like if there's no one coming by and then someone sees the poster board I have up that says like, go out and vote. And for some reason that triggers them and they want to talk about it. Then they come up and we talk. I haven't had that many debates yet because I have pretty much all red states because I covered North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, and Wyoming. And I'm the only rep in the country, I think, that has all red states. So, like, if I had Minnesota, that's clearly a blue state, that would cause a lot more controversy on campus. But so far, it hasn't been too bad. But I mostly go and set up tables with students. If I have students, great. They table with me, and then we sit and I build a connection with them, and then we talk to students as they come by. If not, I set up a table by myself if I'm able, and then I sit there and try to get students involved.
Yeah.
I've been kicked off campus one time in Mitchell, South Dakota at Dakota Wesleyan. I didn't have any students there. So I went in there blind. It was my first time going to college by myself. So I was not excited for it at all.
Yeah.
But I get to campus. I'm like, I can't even set up a table here because they're going to kick me off so fast. It's a tiny college. So I started walking around with my iPad that had a QR code on it that asked the question, was like, who's your favorite political candidate? Because that's very harmless. And I was also trying to help students register to vote if they weren't registered to vote. Then two people from administration came up to me and they were like, who are you? What are you doing here? I'm like, I work for Turning Point USA. I'm like, okay, let's go inside and talk about it. We went inside, talked about it. She was like, why don't you give me your name, your phone number, email, all that stuff, and we'll see if you can ever come back. I've not heard back. So chances I'm allowed back are probably zero.
They wanted your info to put on record, not to
I was like, I told my manager, I'm like, isn't this a good thing? They might invite me back. He was like, no. He's like, you're probably blacklisted. Now you're never going back.
But they never gave you a reason why they...
No, they're like, because we're a private campus, we can kick you off. Otherwise, you have to get the police involved. And I was like, no need.
Crazy.
I will
trespass.
Yeah, I was going to get trespassed off the campus. So I was like, let's just hold up, I'll walk off myself. And I did.
See, I would be curious to find out what the reasoning. Yes, it's a private campus, but what harm would you have been doing by just walking around asking students to scan this QR code and, who's your favorite candidate?
She said, the lady who came up and
Register to
talked
vote.
to me, she was like, we need to make sure you're here for good reasons or something like that. And I said my reasons, and she was like, well, we just need to like make sure it's okay for you to be here. And they just kept repeating the same stuff. And at a public university, like if that happened at NDSU, it's so much easier for me to stay because it's public.
Yeah.
Like they actually have to find something that I'm doing wrong to get me off. But at a private university, it's like that and I'm off. So I didn't really have much argument to make, unfortunately. But I still had fun. Like I probably talked to 15 students. All of them were very polite and respectful and liked what I was doing. And some of them even knew about Turning Point. Some of them didn't.
Yeah.
But like the administration, they're killing the kids there because I was trying to help them register to vote, which is like a basic thing all Americans should do. And they're like, no, you have to go.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
What
Go ahead.
does your like daily look like? Do you work there full time, or is that part time, or how does that work?
It's full time. So my Monday through Friday, I'm expected to be at college campus 4 days a week.
Okay.
So like Monday, I might be at NDSU. Tuesday, I'll go to UND. Wednesday, SDSU, or like Augustana and Sioux Falls on Thursday. Friday is an at-home day because there's so many things like admin-wise I have to do at home.
I
have to
imagine
enter-
studying and all that too.
Yeah, and I mean, you can never watch enough podcasts and read enough because I need to stay informed.
Got to be informed.
Yeah, I have to stay really informed. So luckily, kind of unluckily too, I have the biggest territory in the country for our company because I have to go from like Fargo to Missoula, Montana, down to Laramie, Wyoming, and then down by Vermilion, South Dakota.
So you cover from this side of the state all the way over into Montana, right?
Yep.
So
That's great.
Minot University and
Minot's
all that.
mine, yep.
Okay.
Yep, I haven't been there yet, but I will go there. I mean, that's a long drive, so I kind of want to have a good reason to go there. I have a couple students there that I'm talking to right now, but unless something's actually going to work, I'm not going to go that far. I am going to Montana on Sunday though. I fly out Sunday morning from Sioux Falls, and I'll be there. I'll actually be at Charlie Kirk on Monday. We'll be doing, it's called a Prove Me Wrong, and then we'll be doing that in Missoula, Montana.
So I think we actually share a lot of those videos in our group chat. I said these guys, the one that I absolutely love that I replay over and over. It's this nerd that goes up to the microphone and he says something. Everybody boos him and he's like, "Cope, seethe."
Yeah, I love that one. I mean,
He's
there's
such
so
a
many.
dork, and like I just love it. I'm like, oh my god, he thinks he burned him too. He's like, "Cope, seethe."
There's so many things that are just like, it's just crazy. It doesn't seem real. It's like two different worlds. Like there's just no common sense in some of these.
Well, that's the thing.
students.
It's like I know that these videos that he puts out, like they get edited in the clips, right? But they can never come up with a valid response. And every single time they have no response to any of the stuff that Charlie puts out, and it's just over and over. You see that these college kids are so misinformed and they don't do actual research. They just regurgitate what they hear on the news or some left-leaning person that they might follow on social media. And it's just like, it's never ending. It's over and over. That's why I think like you guys are so incredibly important and to get into these colleges and talk to these kids to maybe hopefully inform them a little bit more. Because I think I just saw a survey that I think Dan Crenshaw had put out saying that the majority of college students vote Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it 100%. I mean, it's kind of hard to see that in my states I'm in because I'm typically only surrounded by, I don't even know if they'd consider themselves Republican, but at least conservative students. I'm around a lot of those.
Yep.
I'm not around a lot of like what I'd say Democrats or liberals typically, but I 100% would believe that most college students would vote Democrat because it's just what they're fed. It's what they believe. They're not doing their own research. I mean, I was in college up until I went to VCSU for a little bit, then to NDSU. And I mean, my entire time in college until about the end, I really didn't care that much about politics. I was one of those people who was like, oh, well, like it's not going to affect me. Until it affects me, I'm not going to vote. And that was like my mindset at the time. And then you just see things get so far left, and it's just going to keep going. And then for me now, John and I were talking about earlier, I have a daughter. She's 13 months old. And her, like, if we don't do something now, her future, by the time she gets to be my age, who can imagine what things are going to be like? There'll be pride flags in every classroom. I mean, things are just going to be so far one direction that it's not going to be able to be saved. So I'm hoping what all the college reps, high school reps, faith reps, and anybody with Turning Point, what we're doing like today and the work we do today is beneficial for tomorrow. Because I know the things I'm doing today aren't going to make someone vote Republican tomorrow, but down the line in the future when my daughter's my age, I'm sure hoping it helped a little bit.
The dots will connect
Yeah.
later on down the line. Yeah. Do you think it's a or what do you think is the reason why, like, in the education system, especially like, you know, when you get into like, what is it, junior high and high school, there's so much, I don't know, I hate to call it indoctrination, but it essentially it is. Like, I just read a story earlier about, I don't remember where it was, but there was a minority inspector at a campus somewhere talking to a girl, and that's what they called himself, a minority inspector. I think she was a white woman. But this mom was pissed off because her daughter signed up to vote at her school. They signed her up. They basically mandated that she come with this person, register to vote. And she was 17, but she turns 18 like the day before the elections, right? So she registered her and then told her she should vote Democrat and explained to her that if she voted for Donald Trump, it would be really bad for black people. And like just pretty much just on the spot, like indoctrinated her and forced her, you have to vote Democrat if you're black, kind of a deal. And the mom's a Trump supporter and she's a black woman and she lost her shit. She went to the school. Like there's a video of her going off on the teacher and like, you know, bitching her out, and the teacher tries to lie. She's like, call my daughter down here. Let's have this conversation. So it's a pretty extensive story, but like that's the gist of it, is like that happened on campus in high school. And the schools allowing that kind of shit. What do you guys understand as being like the root cause or the reason why that's happening at such a high level around the entire country?
First of all, the thought of there being a minority inspector at school is absurd.
Especially one who's not a minority.
Yeah, I know. I've never heard of that before. That makes no sense to me. Valley City State University is a really big school for teachers. It produces a ton of teachers, especially in the Midwest. And I have a lot of friends who went there, who graduated and are teachers. And they tell me that the professors in the school system there are like, you can't do this anymore. You can't do this. And it's like how you talk to students has changed so much. They have to be so soft and they have to hold their hands now. And so these people who are in college to go to school to be teachers, it starts right there with them in college. And the professors in the colleges, I also don't like to use the word indoctrination, but maybe, I mean, that's probably the only good word to use at this point. Yeah. They're going into college classrooms to be taught how to be teachers in high schools now. Yeah. And they're just being fed lies and they're just being fed such bullshit that they take back to the kids. And it starts in college and goes down to the high school level. I don't even know exactly how it got to be this bad in schools. Right. I've never had a teacher or seen a teacher in my experience in high schools where there was like a gay teacher or anything. Not like that's bad, because I have gay friends and my director is gay and I love him. He's an awesome dude. But like I never saw that. And today it's really popular now. There's whether it's a gay teacher, a transgender teacher, non-binary teacher, whatever it might be, they're getting into classrooms in younger and younger ages to elementary schools now. And you can just promote such absurd things now. And in the books they're feeding these kids too, like two dads and two moms. And once again, that's not a bad thing. But the bad thing is showing kids that that's, I don't want to say normal. Well, it's not even normal. Well,
they're helping them praise it instead of just letting it be.
Exactly.
You know, they don't praise straightness.
I was just going to say, I've never pushed my straightness on anybody. I've never like read this book because it's a mom and a dad and it's a story of straight family. Like no one's ever been like, let's just push straight books. So I don't know why now they're like, well, let's promote these. But go ahead.
I don't think that it's even a bad thing for someone like us who are straight, who obviously you want your kids to be straight. You want your kids to have a family. Everybody that has a family wants their kids to have a family. And I don't see that being a bad thing, saying like, you know, of course you don't want to push any agenda onto them, but I get so irritated by like, oh yeah, you're going to push your straightness on your kid. Like, no, I'm not going to push anything on my kid, but of course I want them to grow up straight because I want them to have a family. I want to be a grandparent someday. And I think it's BS that we have to just sit back and be all timid to this whole agenda. And one point that you brought up that I absolutely love is my cousin he's going to school to be a teacher, a history teacher, because he absolutely loved history. And he's the smartest kid that I know. And he changed his major because of the BS that's been going on. He said that I just didn't want to conform to what they're trying to tell teachers on how to teach and how to be soft, and you have to address pronouns. And he's like, I didn't want to get in trouble because I called a student the wrong pronoun. And that's legit because they're firing teachers for calling students wrong pronouns. Yeah. And so we lost a good teacher. He would have been an excellent freaking teacher.
One of my best buddies who is from Oaks, who went to be a teacher. I mean, he had said to me after he was 3 years done in school, 3.5 years done, and about to graduate, he was like, well, I guess he's already too far into his degree. Not going to back out now because of how far the school system has gone left. I mean, I wasn't the greatest student. I was super lazy in school. I just wanted to play sports. It's like all I cared about. So I had teachers like yell at me, and it was I deserved it. Like, I deserved my math teacher, who was also a football coach, to yell at me and like slap the desk when I was not paying attention. Like, I would screw off a lot, and I needed that. But today, if you do that,
you get fired.
It's that simple. It's done. You cannot discipline kids anymore.
Nope.
And I mean, I needed that. I mean, I grew up to be better because I had those teachers who were harder teachers. Yep. Yeah. And then
another example, sorry to interrupt, but
you're good.
I just want to get so I don't forget. We had an English teacher. He was a 7th grade English teacher, 7th or 8th, but an amazing teacher and a very well respected person because he was a wrestling coach too. And he had a phenomenal coaching wrestling career. Like, they went to state, they won state, but he had a couple of students that were just little shit. Right. And, these students were mouthing off, and the one went up to him and gave him the 2 fingers right to his face. And I think he grabbed him and he pushed him against the locker and, was giving him the business, like saying, hey, you can't be doing that. Right. Well, the parents and the parents are less than desirable for this child. Right. The parents got involved and they ended up putting him on administrative leave. Well, somebody had created a Facebook post saying justice for McNary. And it had over 2,000 people coming into that post supporting this teacher.
That's crazy.
2,000 people in a Facebook post in a small town in Wahpeton. It came in there and supported this teacher, knowing like he's never changed. He's always been like that. But there's a reason behind that, because there's people just like me. Like, I was a little shit too back then. And I needed someone like that to keep me on the straight and narrow, because without those people, you get these people that graduate and they go off and do freaking hell shit, hellish shit. So we need teachers like that to say, no, you're going to freaking act right or get the hell out of here.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, I talk to my buddy back in Oaks every day who's teaching, and he was like, you wouldn't believe what these kids are doing. Like, he's like, they're worse than you were. And the level of like, they just don't care. And like, when I was in elementary school, I was one of the few kids in my class who was like, oh, like, I don't really care. I don't know. I'll be fine. And then now it's like every other kid is like that, and there's just no correcting it. You can only send them to the office so many times, but they don't even care. Yeah. I know kids in Oaks who have now left the school system, and the school's like, well, maybe you should like not drop out, but go all online from home. Just get your GED and just call it wraps, because like we don't even know how to handle you anymore. And I mean, back then, if things were like that today, that could have been me. I wasn't that bad of a student. I passed. I never failed a class, and I always just tried for sports, and that was it. But still, I mean, with those teachers and just being on my ass all the time, whether it was a late assignment or whether they were like holding me accountable for like the bullshit I was pulling in classes, like I needed that. Otherwise, I would have turned into like how these kids are today.
Yeah. My wife is actually an elementary school teacher, and I definitely attribute a lot of the poor attitudes and the way kids act to their parents, unfortunately. For sure. Being so incredibly soft with them and disconnected. Like the way the stories she tells me when she comes home, like they're disgusting. Some like just the first week of school, and I'm obviously, if you know my wife, you know her name most of the time. You won't be able to find her, so it doesn't really matter. But first week, she's like, yeah, this kid made fun of this other kid who has something,
disability.
Some sort of disability, and like multiple kids got on this kid with the disability, and they were like doing something he doesn't like when they do, and it's like one of his triggers, and so he was just yelling, I guess. And I was like, honey, this is the first week of school, like you cannot. And I'm not a teacher. I did go to be a teacher as well, but I realized quickly I didn't want to do that, nor do I like school either. I was a similar way, but my dad scared me enough to make me not act up too bad. So, but yeah, I was like, you got to get on these kids right away and let them understand, like, we're restarting. This is not how my classroom goes. I don't care who is in it or what's going on, but this is not what I tolerate. Yeah. We are stopping right now. Everybody be quiet, sit down, figure it out. Like, once you allow kids to do that, because I was one of those kids, and I tell you, like, I pushed it until they were like, I'm calling your mom. And my mom usually got my back, like, to not tell my dad, because I'm gonna get beat. Like, that'll be it. So I was like, I'm gonna push it. And they will keep doing it. They will keep pushing it because they know where that line is now, because you didn't stop them when they started. Yeah. So
there was no consequence for their actions. And so they're like, oh, shit.
But then when they go home, because they don't have a scary dad or a scary mom, like, they just go home and they're like, what, mom?
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it? Like, bro, nothing.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, like, I respected my dad so much too. I was not trying to piss him off. Like, he did everything for me. I mean, I was adopted and came from Florida. So, I mean, thanks to him for even getting me to North Dakota and giving me this life here. But I was a pretty shitty student at times. I mean, but my dad also, he just hated the school system and the bullshit they were doing. He hates it even more now because it's gone so far left. But at the times too, when I'm in gym class and the gym teacher takes my phone away, and then they're like, you got to call your dad to come get it. My dad would come to the school. He'd look at me like, where's your phone? I was like, it's over there. He'd go get it from the gym teacher, give it back to me right away. He's like, it's his phone. He needs it. Like, if there's an emergency, he's going to call me. So, like, even when I was like a junior and senior, the schools were getting more left, and they'd always threaten me. They were like, you talked out of turn. I'm going to call your dad. I'm like, just call him. Like, call him. My dad will answer. And he's like, okay, like, you deal with it. You're the teacher. Yeah. Because, like, he was like, you guys need to have some kind of control over the classroom.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, at this time, I'm 17, 18 years old. I'm not grown, but I'm getting to that point. So my dad was like, well, if you guys in the school can't control him and you're just going to call me when things get bad. He's like, it's your job. You guys are here. You're not babysitters, but it's your job to be able to control the classroom. So control the classroom. And now, like you were saying with your wife in the elementary school, I mean, it's gone. I don't know.
I mean, she's not allowed to do anything. Like, the things I said she can do, but for the most part, like, that's it. Now, if they still don't listen to you, you're fucked. Like, you lost.
So what do you guys think then, if it is a lot on the parents? I mean, I'm a very young parent with a young child, but as they get older, what do the parents do then if the school systems are literally holding their hands across the way? I mean, these Fs can pass some places, I swear.
Yeah, no, you can. I talk about this about one of my sons all the time in the Moorhead School District. I mean, he's in high school right now, but he was pretty much failing 8th grade before he got into 9th grade, and then he somehow got through 9th grade, and he plays football for Moorhead. And this isn't to out my son, but I'm an active parent. And when my kids mess up, I get after them. But I see too that when they're fucking up in school, there's no disciplinary action. Like, my son's telling me, like, he's struggling in school. He's got some bad grades and shit, and he plays on the football team. And I'm like, we're having a conversation just last night with him, and I'm like, dude, you can't have all these bad grades and be having all this fun hanging out with girls and staying after school to go to the volleyball games and do all this stuff. Like, none of those privileges are acceptable when you have grades like this. And, like, how come your football coaches, like, when I played football, we were held accountable by our grades in order to get gameplay. And he's just like, there's like 22 football players failing. The coach told everyone today, like, there's 22 of you guys who are failing right now. You need to get your grades up. And I'm like, that's it? That's all they said? Like, as a parent, we have to be more willing to let the teachers have them to an extent. But now we're caught with this situation where I don't really want these teachers to have that much control over my kid either, because they're smearing bullshit into their minds. You know what I mean? They're all this, transgender, ideology and non-binary stuff and whatever it is. Like, it's huge in the schools. It's huge in junior high school. One of my other sons goes to junior high school, and he's like, 90% of the kids in my school are non-binary or trans. And I'm like, remember when you had to be born gay to be really gay? You know what I mean? It was like the thing they wanted everyone to understand, like, we're born this way. It's not like we just choose it, but now they're choosing it because the majority of kids think they're non-binary or transsexual or all these other things. And it's just mind-boggling because it's coming from the schools. You know, there's teachers, you know, putting flags up, like you said, pride flags in the school and teaching about this and celebrating Pride Month in the school with kids. And it's just like, as much as I am not against gay people, I don't want that to be the focus of their teachers. But in the same breath, I want the teachers to give a shit about their education, but they just don't anymore. That's why I call it indoctrination, because they don't care about what they should be doing to be successful, but they definitely care about being offensive. And they drill that into the kids. But when the kids are failing, they're just kind of like, yeah, you're all failing. Figure it out. You know what I mean? And like, we literally had to get on with his teacher last night and be like, what's going on? Like, where are all the, you know, the paperwork, you know, the homework and shit that he's missing, you know, the test assignments. And she's just like, oh yeah, there's a long list of them right here. If you go on their portal, you know, and you can see all the stuff he's missing. And it's just like, how come there was no notice to say, hey, your kid hasn't turned in an assignment? The last 20 assignments haven't been turned in. Like, I think that's a pretty big deal and something a teacher should be able to communicate to somebody, you know what I mean? So it's like, they're really just kind of letting go of doing anything for the kids to make them successful, but they want them to play the games. They want them to participate in all the different monthly festivals that we do for different genders and races and all that nonsense. It's just like, we're completely lost. And I think this is why Trump wants to take the education system away from the federal government and make it all more state, you know, ran, because this shit's coming from the top, man. There's a reason why, you know, pedophilia, you know, punishment is really, really subtle, you know, because these people are involved, as we're seeing with Epstein and all the political figures there. And now, you know, Puffy's the Epstein of, you know, Hollywood or minority culture, whatever you want to call him. He's the Black Epstein, that. You know what I mean?
No,
so, for sure he is, bro.
I don't claim him.
This is why they're going to tear him down. They didn't tear Epstein down, but everyone's threatening Jay-Z. Everyone better watch, because it's the black guy.
I can't wait.
We can burn this dude and expose
points.
everyone.
I got 2 points to make before I have to go to the bathroom. So point one, I think that we need to pay our teachers more.
Hell yes.
I think that we need to pay them more and
vet them more.
Yes. Yeah. Just so we have more qualified, but well-paid teachers. I think they're severely underpaid.
For sure.
And then the second point was, I think that it starts with people like us, where we are very open with our values, but we have strong values and we project that. I shouldn't say project, but maybe talk about it to other people and how we raise our kids. It's going to pass down and pass over.
And it's a conversation you just have to have with your kids in general. It's like, hey, this is what reality is, and what I've shown you over the past 8 years of your life. Like, this is a way that I feel acceptable to hold myself, and I feel as if you should have learned some of these things, and if you don't, you're going to see a big variety of different attitudes and morals in the school system. So be prepared for that, and remember that I'll hear about it, you know? So, I mean, be respectful of me as well. Like you said, you respected your dad. I respected my dad too, but I was more scared to just get my ass whooped. Like, that was really my thing.
Like, so. I didn't ever think he was going to kick my ass. I mean, maybe he should have a couple times, but I was like, I just respected him so much. And he would always say, he's like, well, whatever you do, he's like, I want you to know, like, I can't bail you out every time you screw up. Every time you do something dumb, every time you get a speeding ticket, he's like, you expect me to take care of every single thing. He's like, eventually you got to sleep in the bed that you made.
Yeah.
So as I get older too, I mean, I know I'm 23 now. So, I mean, if I do something, can't call dad and be like, hey, I'm going to jail. Can you come get me out today?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing that at a certain point that I just have to be ready for the real world. And that's how he was always just trying to make me.
Yeah.
Because if you're not ready for the real world, then you walk out, you leave the house, and you just deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
Yeah. My biggest thing is I, especially in the school system, I see just so many kids that are being led in such a poor way, and like such a disconnected way. Obviously, with social media, you see how bad kids are and how often they're on social media and their attention span and all these things. And you guys always say it's my generation, but I really do believe, same as you, 23, 24.
You're 24.
20, I can't even remember sometimes. But the older generation really did fuck up, I think, and they're fucking up right now.
When
As
you
you
say
say,
older,
I'm
what are
like
you talking-
50-50.
I'm talking your
Yeah, I
guys'
was gonna say, like,
generation.
I agree with you. Like, the owner, the parents of these kids today are culprit, in
It's not my generation.
in that
Not
shit.
you,
But
bro.
also the kids, like, you guys are anomalies.
That's
bro.
what I'm saying.
Because he said some shit earlier too that you've said before, where it's like he's like, yeah, I don't really like to go downtown and hit that scene because like the places like the OB, he's like, I'm 23, but I'm just like, dude, this isn't my crowd, even though it's his age group.
Yeah.
The majority of kids your age, there's some upstairs where they don't care. I think it's the social media world. They worship celebrities today like I've never seen before.
I mean, for me, like having a daughter changed my entire
Yeah.
life. Like you said, it changes
Yep.
your life, makes you mature really fast. I mean, the last time I went downtown, I came home and I'm just like so hungover. It's 7 a.m, but I'm still like, hangover doesn't matter. Still gonna be a dad. Still gonna make bottles. Still gonna make breakfast.
Yep.
And then once I'm doing that hungover, I'm like, this is like embarrassing. Like I know my dad wasn't like this for me when I was a baby. So I'm like, what am I doing today? And I'm like, I don't want her to be like this with her kids drinking when she has kids at home. So that was at least going downtown anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still gonna go have a drink with my buddies at bar down, but that's
Yeah.
about it nowadays.
I was gonna say
I'm
bar
really-
down's where I
yeah,
go.
bar
We
down's
talked
cool.
about that.
That's where we all
It's
go.
becoming the spot, bro. Yeah.
I'm just done. Like I'm done going downtown because nothing good happens down there.
Exactly.
It's like that's a single person's area, so I gotta
Yeah.
quit.
I think that is it. It's a single person's. If I was single, maybe I'd be down there more. But there's nothing appealing to being down there except for a fight if you're looking for one. So
Yeah,
I guess,
sure
but fuck.
I do enjoy the outdoor area of Cowboy Jack's though, with the bonfire and everything like that.
The
That's
Fort
not bad.
Knox got a
Cheers.
big ass projector
That's
on
cool
the
too,
side of their
yeah.
building too now. So they put like UFC fights on and stuff too. So
Right.
maybe I had to check
There's a
that
cool
out.
just like-
backdrop for all the street fights.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I got a projector in my basement now. I always sit in the corner. My fiance sits next to me. I just lean back and I sip on a water and go to bed at like 8:30. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
perfect. I wake up,
Yeah.
I'm not hungover. I feel great.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what I want to do now. I'm just tired of being hungover all the time.
Yeah.
And when we were like 20 and 21, it was what you do. But now when you have actual responsibilities, you look like a dumbass
Yeah.
out there. So
Yeah.
Well, you when you get that guilty conscience, like you
Yep.
said, that's when you know, like, your mind and your heart are changing, and you're just kind of maturing, because you normally wouldn't get a guilty conscience about having a good time, but now you have a kid and you're feeling the responsibility, and someone's watching you, and they're probably your kid's way too young to even realize that daddy's hungover and
Yeah.
drunk, but your conscience knows it'll be tomorrow when they're a teenager, and you'll have all this time will have passed and you didn't realize it, and you're still hungover on every weekend when you're trying to tend to your kids, and they're like, daddy's always drunk, and stuff like that. Yeah, that changes you really fast.
Yeah.
Really fast.
I don't have any kids, but I'd say the one way to avoid all of the drama and the stuff, or a lot of it, is have money and send your kid to a private school.
that's the dream. That's the dream. Private school.
It's true, but
I'm
it's
gonna
hard
make it
to it's
happen.
hard to find quality private schools these days too.
We
You're
talked
hearing a
about
lot
it
of
too.
stuff about private schools
Yeah.
doing all this nonsense. So yeah, it's
100%.
tough.
100%. I mean, that's the dream. I think everyone wants to send their kids to private school just because it gets them out of the craziness of a public school. I went to a public school. I mean, at the time when I was in school, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the public school. I would put myself in a public school, but it's weird, but I would do it again, but I would never put my daughter in a public school.
Right.
You want better for your kids, and so private school
Yep.
typically is better.
Yeah.
Hopefully, anyway.
Yeah.
I think, like, and especially in the younger years, all my family has kids and stuff like that. I have tons of nephews and nieces, 10 siblings. So I do know things. I don't have kids, obviously, but
You get a family dynamic.
yeah.
100%.
And the thing I've seen is like the early education, like before or near preschool, getting them into an actually good like education system at that time, where they're with smart kids and they're learning how to communicate, not just a regular daycare. I've seen that be extremely helpful, but then you run into a kid who can't handle like playing with toys with other kids because they don't do that there.
My soon-to-be sister-in-law, her oldest son, I think he just turned 5, maybe 6. So instead of like daycare ever, or even I think like his first year, what could have been kindergarten, he just spent that time going trucking with his dad and being on the farm with his dad.
That's
And
awesome.
he knows like way more shit about farming than I do. And then so when we talk, Like, I'll be like, "What's up, little buddy?" And he just wants to talk about tractors and combines and trucks. And I'm like, I'm not the guy to talk about
Dude,
that. So it's just so funny.
We saw that. Did one of you guys
That
showed
little
that
kid?
little kid?
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
That
He's
knows all
bad.
about
That's gonna be, I
tractors.
know what we're talking about. That's gonna be him.
Yeah.
He's gonna know. He already knows more about tractors and trucks than I do. I'm not.
Yeah, that
I'd
kid's
never
dope.
claimed to be a country boy, but he knows way more than I do. So it's refreshing to see that.
Yeah.
He's just like enjoying being outside, being with his dad, being in the tractor, being in the truck, being on the road,
Yeah.
instead of being like locked into the screens all day.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it's something that like this is a completely different path than we're going on. But I think too, what's made school systems, high schools, elementary schools, even into like freshman and college now so bad is those kids who were inside and locked inside during COVID. Those are the kids who are the
Oh,
most
yeah.
fucked
That
now.
killed. Yeah.
Because
That
those
was a
kids got-
quick, like 4 years of,
We talked
you know,
about this.
people feel like that's their life. That's how they grew up
I mean,
now.
that's like when they grow socially.
Yeah.
And when they can finally, they kind of come into themselves socially in a crowd setting. So I've read different stories and talked to different teachers who have said like these kids were coming in who were stuck inside during COVID. I just graduated when COVID happened, so I missed my last like 2 years of high school and then into college. So I got away from it because I mean I was already 18 when it happened. But like these kids who were 4 or 5 or like even 12, 13, 14, anywhere in between there, those are the kids who now like they're the weirdest kids in the world.
Yeah.
Like they
Socially awkward too. Yep.
yeah, and they come into school.
They
and
have a
they're
hard
they're
time
so
looking
behind.
at you in the face,
Yeah.
like the eyes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because they're not accustomed to
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
They're just so behind now, and it's
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens when you have government full control. Look what
Yeah.
happened. These kids are all they're pretty.
It
Messed
was the
up now because
biggest
of it.
detriment to this country, I think, that we've ever seen, at least in our lifetime. But I brought this up before. I'm a recruiter for the Guard, and one thing that we noticed is the amount of kids that are on antidepressants and anxiety, ADD, ADHD, all that stuff. It's skyrocketed.
I wish people
skyrocketed.
talked about that more. Even like the effects of COVID, outside of however many deaths they claimed happened because of COVID. The people who now have like mental health issues,
Yeah.
their mental health was the worst it's ever been. Like more people ever in history get anxiety, depression, more suicides than ever. People are
Yep.
becoming alcoholics, drug addicts.
I mean, what do you expect? You're telling these kids they can't go outside. They gotta be stuck behind a screen. You can't socialize with your friends. I mean, of course they're gonna get depressed. Like,
I think the
Being
food
young like
contributes
that?
to it too, though.
what's that?
Like these kids, they eat more junk
oh, of
than
course.
ever. Did you know that the rate of beef is down like 60%? You know what I mean? Like people aren't
consumption?
consumption. People aren't eating as much
'Cause it's expensive.
meat. Yeah, sure, it's expensive, but like there's food scientists, nutritional scientists who their only job is to make food addicting. And you know, like think about how many kids you know who are eating Takis and flaming hot Cheetos,
My
bro.
nephew eats Takis all the time.
They're
I'm like, bro,
they're
you
so
understand?
bad for
Terrible
you, bro.
It's
but,
red.
yeah, but they're so bad for you, and it's all they eat. They're not getting other nutrients. These kids eat nothing but junk now, so that shit's messing up their brains like crazy too. That's been shown, proven, and scientifically factual. But yeah, on top of everything else that happened, it was just like a culmination of things just came tumbling down at 2020, bro, and just kind of the internet got even bigger. Social media got even bigger, and these kids, that was their era. You know what I mean? Like when we look back, or at least me, I'm hella old, but when we look back in high school, like I have memories that will never, ever, ever, ever be matched by the memories that my kids will have, because this is where everything's going to be to them. You know what I mean? I
That's
hear
even how I grew
music
up.
and I'm like, oh, that reminds me of when we were at the beach, or when we used to all hang out after school and go here, or everyone hanging out in the quad at lunch. Like, imagine, I haven't even seen, I don't go on a campus, but I imagine kids in the quad, in the lunch quad, or at lunchtime, everyone's sitting around staring at their phones. And that weirds me out, bro. I'm like, how the fuck could you not socialize with other kids and, get into fights and get dirty and do all that? Like, they don't do that anymore in schools.
I mean, I'm
It's so
not even
weird.
kidding. When I was at NDSU, we would go and sit down sometimes for dinner. Me and all the boys would go to the table. There would be times when we get to the table and we have our phones out from the time we sit down, and then like we're like, all right, shit, we're done eating. Put the fork down, phone away, and like very, very few words were said. Like I don't even remember the conversation because we're sitting there and we're like, we'll text in the group chat and be like, look, we just put in the group chat, and then we're right here together. There's like 8 of us at a table. Then we're like, all right, let's go.
Or you're
And-
sending memes to each other sitting there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that's crazy,
It's
bro.
addicting.
That
But
is
yeah,
crazy.
it is.
I never had enough friends to do that, but like I never would have did that. I feel like,
I
Well,
definitely
you got
did.
lucky.
yeah,
That's why you're here with us.
exactly. That's why these guys are my friends.
We're like, he's not like them. Let's bring him under our wing.
Cody, for you being in the Guard, what is like, is there any boundaries you can't cross as far as talking about political candidates and like the president? Because I know or at least to my knowledge, that's like the commander in chief.
Yep.
So
We don't bring up anything like politics, but what I do is I make it very well known that because I'm in the Guard, so our number one boss is the governor. And so I make that point very clear when I'm talking to these kids. I'm like, your guys' boss is the governor. We serve the state of North Dakota and its people. So the problem is that I've gotten a lot of kids saying that they do not want to serve under this administration. And so, and that terrifies me for this upcoming election. And so that's why I wanted to make a point, like, guys, you know, if you join the Guard, your boss is the governor of North Dakota. You serve the people of North Dakota first and foremost. Okay. So if stuff hits the fan, just realize that you're going to be attached to North Dakota. Right. And the other thing I said, if World War III happens, I said, guess what? You guys are going anyway. And you don't get to decide where you're going to go or who you're going to go with. But if you join now, you can be with the North Dakota Guard unit, right? So we don't necessarily talk anything about politics like in the classroom or anything like that. But my biggest thing when I talk to kids is try to ignite some patriotism into them. I'm very passionate about talking about the Guard, about why I joined the Guard and everything like that, because I was old enough. I was in 7th grade when 9/11 happened. It was a big deal to me, even at that age. So the one thing that scares me is that when I'm talking to these kids, I feel like the patriotism is died.
It is, yeah.
And we need to bring that back. We need to have a sense of pride about where you guys live and where you come from.
That's racist now, though.
No. So that is my goal, is to just bring the patriotism back, right? And I think I've been slowly, at least in my own way, slowly starting to do that. I mean, I told these guys, I was out at the Valley City football camp, that huge camp that they have out there, and I was the one that spoke to the two groups. So there's 400 kids total, and I talked a lot about patriotism, and I basically said that it's you guys you're going to carry the torch. You're next in the chute. I said, all the guys that enlisted right after 9/11 because they wanted to fight back, right? All those guys are getting out and they're retiring. So I said, it's up to you guys. You're up next in the chute. You get to carry the torch. It's on you. So, but yeah, I can't talk too much about politics because you don't want to step on any toes.
Yeah, I mean, I wondered that too. Let's say you go to a school and you're speaking to the classroom, and there's kids who are non-binary, trans, and all that stuff. I mean, they can be in the Army or the Guard, correct? I think anybody can be now.
So
also, if I'm asking any questions that are like too crazy, don't answer. Just change the subject.
You have to be medically qualified. Okay. So if you are transitioning and you are on medication, you cannot join the Guard. Okay. So as long as you're a full transition and you're not on any medication, then you can join. Or it has to be X amount of months after surgeries too, to get qualified.
So if you were on like anxiety or depression medication like previous, could you join?
Yes, but there's a certain amount of time that you have to wait because they obviously take suicide very seriously with the amount of veterans that are committing suicide, which again, it goes back to our mental health crisis that we have in this country. And I wish that we could take it more seriously. And that's why, like, I have the Gadsden flag posted up outside my yard, and it's "Don't tread on me." If you guys don't know what that is, don't tread on me. And I'm actually getting that tattooed on my side because it means so much to me. And I'm so sick of our government and the stuff that we're spending our money on, that it's not helping anybody in America. Just today, Biden announced that he's committing $8 more billion to Ukraine before his term is up.
Yeah, he demanded that they finish issuing it before his term's up.
That's crazy. We have all this money that we can give to a foreign country that's not technically our ally.
Well, he's there till
but yet we still have this mental health crisis. We have an obesity crisis. We have a crisis at the southern border. We have an inflation crisis. So what is our government doing? What are you guys doing? Republicans, Democrats. I don't give a damn what letter you describe yourself as. What are you guys doing for the American people? And right now, that answer is jack shit.
Yeah.
Actually, I was telling John too, it was just yesterday. I was in Brookings, South Dakota at SDSU. I was packing up my table, getting ready to come home, and this guy came up to me and he was like, "I'm surprised they let you be here on campus." And I didn't know if it was like a "I'm happy you're here," but surprised, or if it was like a "Why the hell are you here?" And it was the second one for sure. And then he got into talking about the border issues, and then he said, I asked about the mass deportation. He was like, "We should not have mass deportation." And I was like, "Okay, why?" And then I actually recorded most of the conversation. And he said that because it's inhumane and it just does not make sense to send this many people back to the country they were fleeing from. And then I said, "You know how many millions of people are in the country today who need food, who need clothes in their back, who need shelter?" And I use the veterans example a lot because it's a really, really important thing. There's so many veterans on the streets while we're giving refillable debit cards, places to sleep for these illegal immigrants who come to the country. We have so many people who've done amazing things in this country who have nowhere to sleep, hardly any food to eat, not a lot of clothes to wear. And he just couldn't really understand that. He was just saying, like, his first thing he said, he's like, "What does illegal immigrant even mean?" He's like, "What does that mean? How are they illegal?" And then I was like, then I knew it was going to be a long conversation. Yeah. And I was like, well, they crossed the border illegally. That's like the very first thing they did to get here to be considered an illegal immigrant. And he was like, well, they're paying taxes. They're benefiting the country. And that's what I said. I said, they're not. And in the video, he's like, yes, they are. He's like, when they get their W-2s, I'm like, these illegal immigrants are not getting W-2s.
They don't have IDs.
Exactly. They're getting free money right now.
Exactly, Mike. They're not paying
they
taxes.
work. They just don't work real jobs.
Not the ones we're talking about.
No, even those ones. So what they do is they'll go to like temp services and they'll work labor jobs. So like you can go down the street. We've got maybe 3 or 4 labor masters in town here, right? They'll have people that go there and they'll say, okay, you give me $5 for every hour you work, but you'll get paid $15 an hour. Those people don't have IDs most of the time. They just work.
But they pay them under the table.
Labor masters is the one that's supplying the workers. So they pay labor master and then labor master pays the people.
I'm sure in Wahpeton, and I know in Oaks it's a thing where there's illegal immigrants working. Whether it's there's an onion factory in Oaks that I think like the whole town just knows there's illegal immigrants sleeping there too and working, or in Wahpeton, like farms around like Dwight and different areas around the area. There's probably illegal immigrants working on farms there. And a debate that I've had with a couple different people, even in Arizona, I was at training for Turning Point. I had this exact shirt I have on now that says "Protect the Southern Border," and this guy was like, "What about all those illegal immigrants who are currently working, supporting the country by working on farms? What about them?" He's like, "Are you willing to risk the economy of farmers and willing to risk the agricultural community by getting rid of every illegal immigrant today if you could?" I mean, my answer was yes, 100%.
Yeah. Oh.
My answer is, what did we do for the past however many years that we've been farming in this country? Do you think that our economy is just going to collapse because we get rid of these people that came in here illegally? No. You're going to have people go and work for those farms like we did every other year that we've had. I've had multiple friends that were working for farmers when they were in school, and there's going to be plenty of people that need those jobs. We're not gonna just collapse because these people are being deported. I think that's an asinine thing to say.
I've traveled the world, man, and I've never felt like uncomfortable or any kind of prejudice or like anything was inhumane about having to have a passport, having to have legal documentation, having to get immunizations to go to certain countries because they're so bad. Like all these different things that you have to do to get into other countries, no one blinks an eye at when they travel. But now all of a sudden they care so damn much about all these illegal immigrants coming to our country, where the majority of these people that have come over in the last 4 years alone, they are not families. They are not working class citizens and shit. They're criminals and military aged men only. They're not bringing boys and girls and wives with them. So it's like that's the real issue at hand. I don't have an issue with, like, I'm Mexican first of all, and I grew up by the southern border, you know what I mean? I have no issue with migrants coming here, but like you could do it legally. There's a way to come over legally. You know what I mean? Look at all the refugees that out here in the upper Midwest that we bring into this country. That's legal immigration. Like there's a way to do it the right way. And I believe too that, especially now, I know it's people from, other countries, but when the issue was just Mexicans crossing the southern border and to get into, America so they can do work and send money back home and stuff like that. It wasn't that I was pro that shit, but I just remember that they were hardworking individuals coming over here. They weren't coming over here to start shit. They weren't coming over here to commit crime, and they were getting their green cards and all that stuff to do so. So there's definitely legal ways to do it. I even remember when I was in high school, Clinton put Proposition 187 into play. And I don't know if it was just for California, if it was everywhere, but I remember at a point, the whole country was pretty much cool with this because there wasn't any uproar, there wasn't riots. And Clinton mandated Proposition 187, which was all illegal immigrants had to be deported back. It was a mass deportation back in the 90s, okay? And I remember because I was following the leader back then. I was a product of my society. I remember everyone ditched school all over in the San Diego area and went marching, in their cities in opposition of Proposition 187 because it was taking illegal immigrants and sending them home. Like some of these people were our friends and this and that. But it was like no one gave it. The government especially didn't give a shit. They were like, no, the government today that's pretending they care, like the Clintons, this was his policy back then. And they were literally sending kids and family members and all these people back to Mexico. They were finding the La Migra, or the immigration, was all over the streets driving on. Like it was like criminals running from cops, bro. They'd see the green and white, police cars, and they knew it was immigration, and you'd see gang of Mexicans running across the fields, jumping fences. Like, yeah, they're like, no, La Migra, that's the immigration. That's what they would yell. But like, I just remember this happening and no one caring, bro. Like it was just kind of like, well, that's the rules. Those are the rules, and companies who were hiring illegal immigrants to work were being fined and canceled and all kinds of shit because it was against the law for illegal immigrants. That's why they called them aliens or illegal immigrants. It was against the law for them to be here the way that they were sneaking over. Now, all of a sudden, it's sad and we should feel sorry for them and they need to be here. And it's like, we're not a fucking toilet where you can just send all your shit to figure it out here. You know what I mean? Like we were once considered one of the most powerful countries in the world. Now we're the laughing stock of the world. So like so much has changed, but not the people, because the Clintons, especially Hillary, they're all for this. They're saying, mass deportation is wrong. And, what's illegal immigration? It's like your husband mandated one of the biggest propositions back in the day for illegal immigration. How do you not know what fucking illegal immigration is right now? So that when I can look back and see that kind of stuff in my memory and say, yeah, I remember Clinton being all about this shit and no one argued about it. Everyone was like, well, that is the way it is. You know what I mean? Even like I had really good friends, bro, that got deported and I never saw again. But yeah, you shouldn't have broke the law, homie. That was kind of the thought process then. Now today, it's just like, oh, you're so wrong and you're so racist and you're so inhumane and it's so wrong to send these people back. I can see clearly the lies of the Democratic Party for the most part, because that's who I always thought my party was growing up, because that's what they pushed on us, like they're doing today. So it's kind of always been an agenda, but these people never stay consistent with their belief systems. And if you can go back far enough in history and research that, you'll see who the good guys and the bad guys are today.
I had a conversation, I don't even remember what college it was at. It was like 2 weeks ago now. This person was like, well, if you took these people back to those countries yourself and you saw what they had to live in, you would feel bad and you would not do it. And I was like, no, I don't care.
I feel bad for my veterans.
I would feel
here.
bad.
Exactly. I mean, no, unfortunately, I don't care. Like, there are so many people here who need food. I have seen homeless people in all sorts. Like, even in Fargo, there's homeless people. Yep. I've seen that here. Those people need these resources way more than these illegal immigrants.
And
do.
It's our tax dollars.
100%. Like I said,
you know what
earlier,
I mean? We should be able to decide to take care of our people first before we take care of anyone. I don't care if it's legal migration.
And
our tax dollars should
taxes,
go right,
but your tax dollars are going towards them to be able to live here
and in abundance. They're getting homes, they're getting loans, they're getting $30,000 EBT cards, they're getting phones, they're getting housing.
As soon as you have somebody who didn't work for anything and is not contributing to society, living better than people who have contributed to society previously, is pretty crazy.
Well, not only that, think about how many people who do contribute, who do play by the rules, and they're still struggling in life, right? They're living in poverty here. They're on the welfare system. They're, going job to job, trying to survive. They're raising kids alone. And we're just like, yeah, but there's more, less fortunate people out there than you guys. So shut up, Americans. We're going to take your tax dollars and we're going to bring millions, decamillions of people into the United States. And you're all just gonna fucking live with that. Like,
I've heard so many things on campuses that I wish I could just put the person here and we could talk to him together now.
We need one. We need to find one.
Somebody who just disagrees completely. This guy said also at SDSU, he was like, well, I used Colorado as an example because that state's just being destroyed right now, right? Like
And it's
before our
beautiful.
eyes. It's a beautiful state and it's about to be a shithole. And he was like, well, what if we just found a way to build, let's say, 100 homes in this town to give them places to stay? And I was like, where's the money coming from? Who is going to fund this? Like, this is more of your money going to them staying here. If we build 100 homes, you know how much money that's going to cost? And it's going to cost those people in Colorado, they're going to be paying the taxes on those homes. And I guarantee they're not going to vote for that.
Yeah. The other thing too, in those, I hear Chicago's getting a big migration of the gangs that were in Colorado that they're saying don't really exist. They're popping up everywhere in big groups, and they're doing like these big gang takeovers. And they're saying right now in Chicago, the gangs in Chicago, like O Block and all those, they're like getting ready to go to war with these Venezuelan, like gangsters that are coming.
They want. They want to kill them.
This is what they're looking for
Yeah.
sure. You know what I mean? But like it's real out there. And a lot of like landlords, and people who own, apartment complexes, they're getting paid more money than the average American who has to pay them rent. So they're literally evicting people out of apartment complexes and welcoming these people in because the check is so big from the government to house these people. So like, think about how crazy that is. Not only are we not taking care of our already, less fortunate, people, veterans and homeless people of America, but we're making them homeless. We're making them fight and fend for something that they already had because we're taking it away from them and giving it to these illegal immigrants. That kind of shit blows my mind.
When
man.
it started, like to think about it, well, not even started, when it got extremely bad, a year and a half ago, like hearing schools shutting down and them taking them over as asylums or whatever, doing hotels where they're paying the hotel for all these people to come stay in the hotel. Like, that's ridiculous. And people don't look back at that because like, that's too real. Okay, we're spending how many hundreds of thousands are we spending to rent out this one hotel for all these illegal immigrants that are doing what?
Yeah. And
do you think it's because and you probably have a pretty good understanding of this more so than us. Do you think it has a lot more to do with the fact that they're trying to use these people for votes?
I think that's a really big thing. Yeah. I mean, in Minnesota already, you've seen Tim Walz give the Minnesota illegal immigrants IDs. And that, they're even taking away IDs to vote. Like, you don't need that anymore in some states already. So if you don't need an ID to vote, and let's say I come across illegally, I'm going to go vote because I'm like, this is awesome. I want to stay here. I want this for money.
Also, if I gave you a big check, a house, a loan to buy a house, whatever, cell phones and all this support, and just say, hey, all I need you to do is if this Donald Trump guy gets in the office, this all goes away and your family all goes back. But if you vote for the right party, this stuff will keep coming to you.
100%.
Like, I think that's totally happening because,
which is crazy because you guys remember back in COVID when they handed out those vaccine passports where you needed a passport, not necessarily around here, but the majority of the country, you needed a passport to fly. Yeah. You remember that? Yep. And now they're saying, nope, you don't even need an ID to vote in the most important election of our lives.
100%. It's insane. I just heard, I think it was Matt Walsh talk about that. He was saying the same thing you just said. He was like, well, think back during COVID, if you didn't have that Vax card, they weren't letting you play in the NBA for NBA players. Aaron Rodgers had to get a fake one just to play football again and do his career. These doctors and nurses couldn't go back to work unless they got one. Government employees could not go back to work without the Vax card because that was so important. But now COVID's gone, I guess. No one even remembers that happened. Right. And now today we're like, well, maybe IDs and things like that aren't that important after all. I just got pulled over on my way back from Brookings. If I didn't have my ID on me, that would have been a huge hassle. Yep. But I don't need one to go and vote now in some states. It's unbelievable.
Or to just live here. You can come over across the border and no one has to know who you are, what your history is, what you've done, what you're wanted for.
They'll fly you.
Yeah, they'll bring you.
You can get on a plane.
Literally, yeah. Yep.
And that brings me to my next point is like us paying for all these people is like the least of our worries. Our biggest worry is, and Trump says it all the time, like they're emptying their prisons, their insane asylums, and they're coming here to this country. And
we've seen the evidence of their
military age males being poured in. We don't know who they are. They're not vetted. We know for a fact that Iran is on the brink of war, and God knows who they're funneling through that southern border. Iran is funding so many terrorist groups right now, including ISIS. ISIS is now becoming a thing again.
And Trump had them broke when he was in office.
Trump had dismantled ISIS, but they're becoming a thing again. The Taliban, they're we're sending them billions of dollars a week still.
That's insane.
Which
This
is
makes
insane.
life just feel like a joke sometimes. I don't know. It makes me sad.
Well, Cody, with that, like, that's a really good point. I mean, it's terrifying. We don't know who's here.
Yeah.
We don't know who's like, and I'm walking in West Acres in the mall. I don't know who I'm walking next to. Like, where are they from? What are they doing? And now with 8 million, 10 million, 12 million, we don't
It's
know.
like 20 million.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we don't know who's here. We don't know anywhere you go. I mean, someone might pass me today and think that I'm an illegal immigrant, then we'd be concerned.
Right.
And shit, they should be, because we don't know. We don't know
Yeah.
anything. It's going to cause so many more problems. People are going to start to be more protective than they ever have before over their property, their things they own, everything.
I actually saw that now Democrats are becoming more the gun owners. Even Democrats are buying more guns now more than ever,
Yeah.
which
They
is
should.
freaking insane.
They should, because I'm telling you, if it pops off, I'm gonna come kick their doors in first, bro. You don't got no guns? Cool, my kids are hungry. I'm sorry. Those are the first
but
ones
yeah,
I'm kicking in.
But it's the definition of insanity, though. Doing the same thing over and expecting a different result. I feel like they should just put their heads through the wall, because you guys are out there buying a gun because you're afraid for your lives and your children's lives, your family's lives.
But you
But
won't
yet
vote
you're
right.
voting
Yeah.
the same thing that you're
Keep
fighting.
them coming.
I mean,
See,
it
what I
doesn't
don't-
make any sense.
What I don't get is, how are they going to try and take the guns away after like all of this? Like, even with Kamala saying, "Yeah, me and Tim both have a gun,"
Which
like,
turned out to be a lie. I heard
Yeah.
that she doesn't own a gun.
That's-
But-
she said it. It
but
doesn't
she-
matter.
They don't
I'm-
think.
I'm-
They don't
says a
think.
lot.
They don't think ARs are guns, though.
Do they? Is that what it
Because
is?
their logic is like, we just got to get these AR rifles, these assault weapons. We gotta put a ban on them. Like, we can't have these anymore. And it's just like, but I'm not coming for your guns. It's just like,
It's a gun.
it's a gun.
Yeah.
When I was at Turning Point training in Phoenix, Charlie came in to talk to us one of the days there to have like a Q&A and just introduce himself and have a discussion with us. He talked about AR and he asked if anyone knew what AR actually meant. And I mean, that I was surrounded by like some of the smartest people I've ever been in my life, but there were so few people who knew what AR meant. And I was so proud to know, because my dad, who is like one of the biggest gun owners I know, he's got a massive collection back in Oaks. He taught me when I was really young what AR actually meant. It's not assault rifle,
Yeah.
Armalite rifle. Everyone was like, oh, that's what that means.
Yeah.
But when Charlie, I didn't answer it because I was like, there's so many people here way smarter than me. Let me just sit this one out. And somebody else answered it and he was like, okay, somebody knows. I'm like, fuck, I should have just said it. Like, I knew the whole time. And being in that room with so many conservatives, all really, really young for the most part. There was a couple people older than me too. But it was like life changing, because it's also, I think it was the majority of them are women too. And then so these women are from, I think, 18 to 20, like mid 20s probably. And there's a couple outliers who are much older. But like, I've never been in a room with so many conservatives, especially conservative women who are outspoken and like super smart at what they're talking about and willing to speak up. And it was really refreshing to be in a room of people, and whether it was like the guy way in the back or the lady way in the front who talked the most, but everybody there was so intelligent, had so many good things to say, and we all agreed with each other. And they're from all around the country. We had people in California, people in New York, like everywhere, and they were all just coming together to be conservatives in a room with Turning Point. So it was an absolute pleasure to be there, because everyone was just so nice and so smart.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
Would you be interested in doing going to larger campuses?
Oh yeah, I feel like I'm almost like not missing out, but like on the excitement anyway, because I'm in with all these red states. No one's trying to like do anything crazy, and I
wonder
see
if,
the
like-
videos on Twitter. People like, if you go to Oregon, one of my coworkers who's like, we have like teams, and my team is the Northwest Territory, and in Oregon, she has just crazy shit happen all the time. And people in California, I have a friend named Maddie Mueller who's in California. I mean, the amount of things she's told me and sent me pictures of and videos, people are insane. And in Fargo, I'm not getting that.
Like they lose their mind
Yes.
when they see that.
People are flipping
Turning Point.
table.
Like the
People
shit
are
you see with Charlie Kirk, where they scream
Yes.
and yell.
people
and
are
all
flipping tables. People are like getting violent and aggressive and hitting people. There's a rep. He's called the Hollywood rep. His name is Vincenzo. He got like assaulted, and it's on Twitter too. You can see it before the assault happens. This guy comes up to him and said, "You're not here to represent my people, and you don't agree with me." And he's like, "What? What are your people? Like, what are you?" And he was like, "I'm gender fluid, buddy." And then, then the video like cut off, and then like I hear later from my team, they were like, "Yeah, apparently the guy like hit him," and I'm like, I'm just waiting. Like, where's somebody in Aberdeen, South Dakota coming to hit me? Like, where are these people at? I'm not seeing
My
them here.
question is, they're supposed to be the party of tolerance. but
They
they
have
are
zero.
the most ill-tolerant people that I've ever witnessed in my life.
Have you ever actually met one of these people out, in the field or whatever, where they actually give some real sound argument and have some facts and stuff to back up what they're saying? Or is it just the consensus that there really isn't one, and that's why they scream, yell, and freak out, because they have no fucking clue, because there's no such thing as evidence and facts to defend them?
I haven't met anyone yet.
Yeah.
I'm sure there will be a time when I meet someone who, like, although we disagree, some of the things he says, I'm gonna be like, okay, that's not bad. Like,
Right.
maybe you could get me to understand that a little
Yeah.
more. I mean, one of the first discussions I ever had was at Augustana University in Sioux Falls. This was my first couple weeks back, like, on the field, and this girl comes up. She's black and she's from Montana, and she said that, like, the Constitution was racist essentially, and that the guys who wrote it were all slave owners, and was like, how can you guys support this document? It was some kind of words like that, and then that question was such a, like, it shocked me. I was like, I almost laughed. I was like, wow, that's like an insane thing to say. And I had to think for a second. I was like, well, look around us today. Like, I'm Puerto Rican, she's black, and we're at this campus. There's Asians, there's everything on this campus. Like, it's a super diverse campus. And I'm like, and you're telling me what they wrote over 100 years ago isn't benefiting us today or right now? I'm like, look at it. You're black. I'm also not white. We're sitting here having a conversation, and no one can stop us. No one can stop you from being here. No one can stop you from doing anything you want. So I'm like, maybe they own slaves. That was what was normal back then. I'm like, there's going to be something today that at 100 years, like, what the fuck were they doing?
Yeah.
Like, why are there so many non-binary people? Who let that happen?
Yeah.
But now that's like, George Washington owned a slave. I mean, all of them did. George Washington also gave his slaves housing and gave them his last name. She didn't know that either. So I throw these facts at her like that one, and then she's just like whatever. Like, it's the same response. There's like, whatever. And like,
Well, he still had a slave.
Yeah. And it's just, I'm like, well.
And they don't
I
ever
guess.
like to hear about how Africans had slaves
Shane
too.
Gillis.
I mean,
They
I
don't
said
love
too.
that story at all.
I love Shane Gillis. I said too, like, there are more slaves today in Africa than there ever was in the country, in the United States. Why aren't you more concerned about those?
Right.
Like, this is a good conversation. Your passion should be towards helping people who are still enslaved.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a single
There
person.
was white people that were slaves too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And Ireland, like, come on, there was all kinds of them.
So that was one thing where
We're still slaves. Fuck.
Today, yeah, hell yeah, we're compensated, but we're still slaves.
that was like the first interaction I had where I was like just
Tax slave.
blown away.
Do you
Um,
think like the U of M, you'd probably get a reaction like that?
Oh yeah,
like
I think
that?
that'd be crazy.
I promise
that
you,
would
I
be
live in
crazy.
Moorhead, bro. There's Harris Waltz signs all over the
Everywhere.
neighborhoods out there, bro. I'm not kidding. It's crazy
I'm
to
kind of
see.
surprised you're not assigned to that school.
Yeah, who
So-
covers that? Minnesota.
So I kind of wish I had Minnesota. But the person who has Minnesota, I don't believe I've actually met him. I know the high score from Minnesota. He lives in, I think, St. Cloud or St. Paul, and we're gonna do some work in Fargo together when he comes here. But the person who has college in Minnesota, I'm not sure who it is because there's so many people, and I think they covered Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, and I mean, Minnesota is a crazy state. Crazy things happen. I mean, if I was at the U of M, oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine things that would happen.
You get what you're looking for.
I wish. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I get that excitement. One of my other, like, I think I'd
Might
refer
be
to him
too
as like,
exciting.
yeah, I know, like, someone who's like a direct teammate of mine. She is in, I think it's in, I'm not sure what part of California, but her name's Annette. She just was tabling for Turning Point. I think it was this week, and she took a video of people. I don't even know what they were protesting. I think it might have been something for Palestine or something. There was students laying down in front of her table all across, and they put tarps over themselves and just laid there. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I've never seen that before, ever. One of my other coworkers, I think it was in Washington. There was a club fair. So every school's club comes out, whether it's College Democrats or like the hunting club, everybody's there. And there was a guy standing with like 3 people around him with it was a flag for communism. It was just a communism flag. And he's sitting there holding that. I'm like, this is insane. Like, you don't see that in Fargo.
Mm-mm.
You're not seeing this in Brookings or Sioux Falls. Like, it's just a different world. I mean, I'm happy to be in North Dakota. But at the same time, too, like, when people are telling me these stories of them getting assaulted and people throwing water at them and dumping shit on them, I'm like, gosh, like, I'm almost missing out.
And I
It's
guess
too easy here for you, yeah.
That's crazy because I always thought like downtown Fargo is like full of liberals, like, well, Fargo in general is like a little bit more left leaning, I'd say. But compared to everywhere else, I think that we're way more left center in this area than anywhere else.
I talked to a lady, she worked for American Experiment North Dakota. It's a company in North Dakota that's going to blow up pretty soon. It's going to be pretty popular shortly here. And she was telling me too, she used to be pretty high up in the Fargo school systems. And she was telling me too that like it's going like people don't know how far left Fargo's getting every day. It's just getting farther and farther left. And who knows in 10 years what we'll be saying about this.
And I do agree with that. I think that, and that's why like I was assigned to the Fargo area for my schools for the Guard, but then I got switched over to West Fargo. I'm at Cheyenne right now, and it's like night and day difference from Fargo to West Fargo.
Really?
Can't tell you how much like it's so different over there, and I love it at Cheyenne, by the way. I love it. Shout out to Cheyenne. But it's different. It's different. And I don't know if that's has to do with the school system or the schools themselves and how they're ran, but I can tell you it's a big difference from Fargo to West Fargo. But yeah, that is a little scary to know that they are shifting more to the left. And
I mean, yeah, just look around when you go downtown, like you said.
Oh, for
during
sure.
Pride week or month or day, whatever they like. I don't even remember what exact thing it was.
Downtown for sure.
Yeah, downtown was crazy.
Yep.
There was pride flags everywhere. And you know what also was crazy about that? Like one thing going to change a little bit. If you go and grab a pride flag off there, step on it and like burn it or do anything, that is instantly a hate crime.
Right.
But if they do that to the American flag, you have to just sit back.
It's their
and
right
watch.
to protest.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like
that's insane.
That is insane.
Didn't it used to? I feel like back in the day, it was like illegal to burn the American flag.
I feel like it was.
Like when I was
think so,
younger,
too.
I
I
feel
don't
like
know
that
for
was
sure.
like a law back then.
Well, back then, if you did it and someone saw you do it, they'd probably kick your ass.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Now
today-
it's just so weird, man.
If I get caught on
It is
video taking
crazy.
one downtown, cops are gonna knock on my door the next day. And
Well, you see
That's a
those
hate
videos
crime.
of those guys, doing burnouts on the flag, and then they get arrested.
Yeah, it's so
like
stupid.
that is insane to me.
Yeah.
Insane. But yeah, during COVID 4 years ago, and this bothers the fuck out of me still. To this day, it bothers me. I didn't know like downtown was considered like more like left leaning. I should have known that, but I didn't know that. But anyways, I was with my wife downtown, and we stopped at this coffee shop. Of course, you should have known going to a coffee shop, right? But it was a coffee. I won't name the coffee shop, but it
I
was.
bet you I know which one it is.
It was a coffee shop downtown. The moment I walked into that coffee shop, I knew instantly that we were out of place. And keep in mind, I'm in uniform at this time. This is during COVID. I had a mask on. I was running one of the COVID testing sites. So I'm not saying I was an expert at COVID, but I knew a little bit about what was going on, because one of the guys that was a nurse, he went to school for virology, and I had long conversations about this, COVID and everything about that. But anyways, so I go into this coffee shop. We're standing there at the counter, and I'm probably like, I don't know, maybe 6 feet, 7 feet away from the barista behind the counter, right? Somebody in front of me, they leave. I go like this. I pull my mask down, put on my chapstick, and then put it back up. The moment that I put my mask back up, she goes, "Can you please keep your mask on?" And I pulled up my chapstick because it's like I'm putting my chapstick on. And she's like, "Well, if you can do that outside, that'd be great." And so I grabbed Kate and I said, "Great business you got here." And I walked out. And I made a post on Facebook. And I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah, I do.
I made a post on
Shit
Facebook.
went viral.
It went freaking viral. It's kind of scared me. But I posted on Facebook, and it blew up, dude. Like I had veterans sharing it to the veteran pages, and it went freaking viral, dude. And I was like, oh shit. Like I didn't expect it to be like that. Like that wasn't really my intention. I just wanted to, I guess, vent at the time because I was really pissed off about how she handled it. And but it blew up, and I was like, oh damn. So anyways, long story short, it still bothers me to this day how she reacted to me just going like this, putting chapstick on, putting it back up, and just knowing what we know now about COVID and how everything that they said was bullshit. Everything that they said about COVID was bullshit. The 6 feet rule, the freaking directions on the floor, the bubbles that we had to live in, and all that stuff about COVID was all BS. We were all lied to. Dr. Brooks is a liar. Fauci's a liar. Everybody that said anything about COVID, they were all liars. And they all got
Nothing's
millions.
happened to any of them.
They all got millions.
Yep.
The pharmaceutical company got freaking billions and billions of dollars, and we were all lied to, people. And remember how nasty some of those people were back during that time? It was all for nothing. All for nothing.
Yeah. But nothing's come of it. There's no
Nothing, no accountability
consequence. Yeah,
whatsoever.
no accountability, nothing.
No accountability whatsoever.
Yeah.
Biggest.
I was on a plane to, I think, Arizona at the time to see my now fiance at her grandma's house in Mesa. I hated the mask so much. I used to like poke holes in them with needles so I could breathe better.
Yep.
And I'm sitting on a plane and I like took it down a little bit. I fell asleep. And this like the girl on the plane shakes me and wakes me up. She's like, "Can you pull it up?" I'm like, "Oh my!" I was so mad.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
I think it wasn't even the 6 feet or the directions on the floor. It was the mask. The mask irritated the fuck out of me. I don't know if it was because of something on my face, but it irritated. I was a freaking.
It made a lot of us antisocial because I did not want to play the game. I didn't want to wear a mask. So I didn't go fucking anywhere, bro. Yeah. And if I did, I was prepared to be standoffish.
Well, it's almost like they were just trying to muzzle you.
Yeah.
You know, like they were trying to tell you, put this mask on. And there was something about that just grinding my gears. And I'm like, I don't want to.
Because you could tell it's wrong. That's not America, bro.
You guys are all really big gym guys. So for you as owner of the gym, when I was a freshman at NDSU when I started getting in the gym then. I had to wear a mask to lift in the wellness center, and oh my God, I thought I was gonna die. I thought I was gonna pass out because I'm breathing so much. I got so much sweat just right here. Yep. It was unbelievable. And then like I'd get yelled at all the time.
I never allowed it.
You didn't force it.
If you want to wear a mask, you can, but I had signs on the door saying that we weren't going to play that game and follow these rules, and like we were fully prepared to stand. The only thing they got us for was they shut us down for 6 weeks, but they only got away with that because like the Surgeon General,
Deborah Burks,
the Surgeon General like mandated, because the gym software we used at the time was this company called ABC Financial,
right? And
they were like the biggest software company in the world for gyms. The Surgeon General contacted them and said, shut everyone down. So like we were closed for 2 weeks and I was pissed, bro, and we were losing money by the day. And I'm like, fuck this. We're going to open against policy. I'm going to fight this, whatever we got to do. I called the merchant. I'm like, turn our shit back on. Like we're fucking, we're going to go against policy. We're opening our doors. And
awesome.
They were like, we can't. Like the surgeon, I can't remember who it was, the Surgeon General or somebody mandated that we stay shut down until your state lifts the ban. We cannot. And so we didn't have a choice but to stay closed for the full 6 weeks, bro. But once we got back open, I didn't play none of their games, man. I told people, if you feel unsafe and you come to the gym, you can wear a mask, but I'm not going to mandate anybody to wear a mask whatsoever.
What do you guys think about, like, at the time, too, you had to wear a mask to be in a gym? Or actually, well, them gyms were closed, but they left, like, liquor stores open and things like that.
That's and that goes back to this argument that we had with somebody on Facebook saying who's essential and who's not essential. Well, now we're 4 years removed from that happening. I think it's safe to say that gyms were absolutely essential because people use that for their mental health, not only for that, but their mental well-being, mental physicality.
It was supposedly a disease that attacks your immune system. Why wouldn't you want people to be fit and healthy?
You just wanted to Uber Eats and fucking sit at home.
So you made the
exercise.
Yeah, you made the problem worse. Yep. And then funny that you say that. During 2021, when I was deployed out to DC, I was out there for a year. There's a gym like literally like 5 minutes away from the base, and they implemented a mask mandate. And I was like, there's no fucking chance that I'm wearing a mask while working out. So me and the guy that I was with, we had to drive. It was 30 minutes to the gym and then 30 minutes back to a gym that didn't require wearing a mask because I was just so dead set against wearing a mask while I was working out. And even at work, we had to wear masks to our workstations. Once you got to your workstation, you could take it off. And it was funny because they had spent thousands of dollars on these dividers at our workstation. The divider ended right here. So if you were sitting next to me, the divider ended right here. So if I turned, I can see your face like we're right this close together. The divider did nothing, absolutely nothing. But they spent thousands of dollars on these dividers, and you had to wear a mask to your workstation, but then you can take it off. So again, we go back to everything that they said about COVID was bullshit. Everything. It was all made up. Nobody knew what the fuck was going on. They just made shit up as they went at the cost of multiple millions of lives and millions of businesses and everything like that.
Yeah.
How long have you been working at Turning Point then now?
My official start date was July 29th, I think. So, I mean, not that long.
Oh, just this year?
Yep, just this year. So not that long. I'm actually going to Montana on Sunday, then I'll be back, and then I'm going October 20th to Phoenix for 2 weeks, and I'm going to be working for Turning Point Action. That is the partisan company of Turning Point, so I'm going to be helping endorse Trump in the swing state in Arizona for 2 full weeks.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that. Be in Arizona. I'll be working like a 9 to 5 or whatever the hours are. Then after, I got Turning Point owns a gym in Phoenix, so it's at their headquarters. So I'm gonna make sure I get that shit lined up before I leave. Nice. And I'm so excited to go there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't exactly know what it looks like. I know it's gonna be a little bit of door knocking, which sounds not fun, but like, I mean, I'd rather have Trump be president and me go knock on some doors than.
Yeah. I heard Elon's funding kind of an effort similar to that. Where he's going to pay for door knockers to go and get people to register to vote and maybe preach a little which direction they should vote or give some argument as to that. But he's putting some big money behind that. He posted.
He doesn't even consider himself to be a Republican either.
Right.
So I mean, for him to be doing this and one of
which
the
is a huge sign. I think people should pay attention to. It's like we lean in the direction where people can call us Republicans. I don't have any loyalty to Republican Party, Democratic Party. I just want to be on the right side right now. And I feel like this is the right side because I can see clearly what they're doing on the left. And I believe in more of the values on the Republican side. I know there's a bunch of rhinos and bad people on the Republican side too.
Absolutely.
But in terms of the presidency, I just think Trump is the best guy for this nation right now, especially if we're going to end up in war because of the last 4 years we've had. You definitely don't want to put a woman as the president who's weak and has zero intellect whatsoever about policy and working with other world leaders who, let's just be real, in some of their cultures, they don't even respect women. Why would we put a woman president when we're on the brink of war right now into office to let
one
her?
Of those countries
with
Iran.
Like that's not okay.
Yep.
So like that's my biggest thing is like, I don't think you can call me a Republican, but I definitely lean in that direction right now because that's where I feel like everything is at least.
Well, even Trump himself like doesn't consider himself Republican. I think he's more maybe independent. I think, but he had to identify as a Republican just to get endorsements and donation money and whatnot. I'm with you, dude. Like I don't even necessarily consider myself Republican, but I just want to be left alone. You know, I want the government to be left alone, and if the government is involved in something, I want them to do it the right way. Do your job.
Yeah.
Do what you're voted for. I feel like a lot of these politicians, they get in just to try to make money. That's the whole point. Like
they're all filthy rich.
They come out millionaires,
and
they're on a freaking public, public service salary. Like you're supposed to be making $100,000-$200,000 a year, but they come out multi-millionaires. That's not right. And what do we get out of it? Absolutely freaking nothing. We don't get anything.
Even Turning Point, like I met a lot of people at training too who are like, I wouldn't consider myself necessarily a Republican either. We're all just conservative, and it just so happens that conservative values typically lean to the right on just about everything. And like with that being said too, I don't like Trump that much,
right?
But I mean, I just hate Kamala that much, and I find myself, and I tell students this too when they come up and talk about Trump, because when I'm at tables, although we're nonpartisan, if someone wants to come and talk about Trump, I can do that, and then I can give my personal views. So I'll always say, like, I'll give a little disclaimer. I'm like, well, personally, I like Trump more than Kamala, because I'm like, those are our two options. It's not like we have insane options to choose
from. But it's
from.
you're not just choosing Trump because of how much you hate Kamala, right? Like that's
no.
the bullshit that the left does. Is like, well, I don't care who's running. I hate Trump so much. I'm going to vote for anyone on this side. You know, like I hate that thought process too. It's so bad, man.
No, 100%. I mean, there's plenty of policy issues. Well, I mean, not plenty because she hasn't said a ton, but there's a lot of things Kamala said that I'm like, is this insane? Like she's for transgenders in jail getting like surgery sex changes, and that's going to be government funded. I mean, she is for a 25% tax on unrealized capital gain, which is only for the top 1%. But I mean, when taxes were first a thing, in 1913, when they implemented taxes on 1% of taxes, was originally only for the 1%, and today every single one of us is paying income taxes. So over 100 years ago, it was for the 1%. Now today, look, we're all paying taxes. So that 25% is actually on earners of over $100 million. And I mean, that's not any of us, but eventually it could be $100,000.
But they're not really going to do that either. Like when you think about it, it's all of them that they're going
to find a loophole to get around.
You know what I mean? Like these people are saying like, we need to tax the rich. It's them. It's their friends. It's their donors. Like they're not really, this is just the bullshit they say to get elected. And then they never follow through with any of it.
I'm really scared too about if she gets through her plans to tax unrealized capital gains and her massive corporate tax that she wants to put on these companies like Bobcat, that's really big in North Dakota. It feeds so many families in North Dakota. It's really, really big from where I'm from because it's really close to Oaks. And I mean, so many families are relying on Bobcat, and so frequently they're already sending more work to China. Yeah. And that's only going to continue to happen as taxes get higher on these corporations. Yeah. So then these families who are relying on mom or dad to go work at Bobcat, it's only going to get harder for them to find jobs and to feed their families. So it's just a massive trickle-down effect. It's just terrifying.
That's why it's crazy when they talk about the tariffs.
Go ahead.
When they talk about the tariffs that Trump wants to place on other countries, it's like, well, who's gonna do all the work? It's like, well, if we can bring the work back to the U.S.,
that's the whole point.
Of course,
that gotta bring the jobs back here.
100%.
I don't know.
You think about all the car industry. It's like the moment Trump left office, they skedaddled. The car industry went to Mexico. Cheap labor over there. And he wants to bring all that stuff back here.
Well, and things will be a little bit more expensive for a little bit, but
this is an interesting video of, I don't know if you guys listen
Patrick
to PBD,
David.
but
I love him.
I just saw this video yesterday, I believe.
He dumps things down to the perfect level for me.
So he was the creator of Uber, right? Is that how he got started?
I don't know on that.
I know he's.
I thought he was just like an attorney or something.
I don't know much about his background. I know he's from,
Uber.
I believe, Iran.
I could be wrong.
Nah, Uber's a couple white dudes. I've seen stuff on them.
I don't exactly.
So you want me
know
to play
how he
this?
got rich.
Yeah, play this. Play this. He's talking about the taxes that we were just talking about.
All right. Well, we need volume, I guess.
Becomes a president, they have unveiled their tax plan of how much money they're going to take from you and it's going to go to the U.S. government. By the way, when you hear this tax plan, the constant narrative you hear is the wealthy don't pay their fair share in taxes, right? It's the poor that pay the taxes, but not the wealthy. Watch this. Bottom 50% of taxpayers in America versus the top 50%. What percentage of all the taxes in the U.S. do you think the bottom 50% pay? You ready? 2.3%. You know what the top 50% pays? 97.7%. Now, you may say you're a Kamala person. You may say, well, Pat, how about the top 1%? It's the top 1% that's not paying any of the taxes. Really? Here's a chart for you. The top 1% pays 42.3% of all the taxes the government gets. So what the hell is this narrative about the fact that rich people don't pay their taxes? Elections have consequences, right? And this is what happens if Kamala Harris.
It's real talk.
They have unveiled it.
So I like listening to him so much. I mean, that's 100%. Obviously, he's telling the truth there. He always backs his shit up with
data,
real. Yeah, he's a smart guy. But with that too, like if they start taxing these people who have $100 million so much, they're going to leave the country and they're going to take their companies with them. Yeah. And that's when I talk about Bobcat's just an easy example. I mean, they have like other they're the parent company of other smaller corporations in the country, like Raymac. Yeah. So then those corporations, they're going to go right with the millionaires and billionaires when they take them to their countries because they cannot afford to pay these taxes. And let's say all of us work for Bobcat today and you're going to start taxing them through the roof. They cannot afford to pay all of us anymore. Right. And then we have to be unemployed. Right. And then we can't feed our families.
Or they'll raise the cost of goods even higher.
Yeah.
To cover the cost of the loss.
It's when you look at the policy, like what Kamala is trying to say and like what you're talking about these companies, and then you look at what Trump's saying where he's like, no, I'm gonna put sanctions on people who try to leave the country to go run their manufacturing and their businesses elsewhere. That makes so much more sense for America. Why we don't want to take better care of the place we call home blows my fucking mind, and that's why I can't get in line with anything these Democrats want to do.
It's just
all of it is outsourcing and destroying this country.
He talks about giving tax breaks to the companies that are going to be American made and things that are made in America. It doesn't make sense to me that it's not like a common sense thing to say. Yep. I like left, right, red or blue. It just does not make sense that people do not agree. We need to keep things made here. And we need to keep their U.S. citizens with money in their pockets and having jobs to feed their families.
Yeah. Dude, I wish I know there's probably an app out there somewhere, but I would like to go out and just find stuff that is made in America. Because every time I buy something,
that's what he was talking about earlier.
I check the tag and say, where is this made? Oh, China, piece of China crap. Great.
Yep.
Every single time.
That site he was talking about earlier that I put the gym and H&I in, it's a site that's for conservatives. It's American everything, American made, American born companies, and it has just long list of different types of businesses, everything from like, food to, apparel to, accessories. I mean, you name it. If it's an American company and they lean conservative, then they put their businesses on the site and other people can discover them and support only these American, businesses. And so I put our businesses on there like as soon as I heard about it, like a couple years ago, probably.
My one of my higher up managers, his name's Chris. He told everyone at training about this app. And I was like, that's insane. I've never heard of that. That's so cool. And then I downloaded it after I got back to Fargo. And like I was just looking around on the map. It tells you, there's a lot more than you'd think. There's quite a few in Fargo and Moorhead too. And I saw the gym was on there. I'm like, I've been going to the gym since I was like a freshman in college. That's insane. So that's when I knew, like I said earlier, I was like, I need to talk to him about this.
Oh, cool.
So I need to start going to other businesses too. Because to be honest, you're the only business owner I've talked to, and it worked out so far. But I'm like, well, I'm just gonna ride this.
What was the name of that site again?
Public Square.
That's right.
Oh yeah, I did hear of that. Yep. That's cool.
Let's see, pull it up.
Does it stay as busy as, like, I guess you wouldn't know all the way, I guess, but I'm sure you've talked with people who have been doing this for a long time. Like, when the election's over, are you just still on the grind of trying to get people to be prepared for the next election, or how does that kind of work?
I mean, honestly, that's a good question because I don't know exactly. I know I'm still going to do my job. I'm still going to go to college campuses. Win or lose, whoever wins this election, I'm still going to preach conservatism. I'm still going to preach my values and Turning Point's values out on campus. Everyone at training too, the vice president of Turning Point talked to us a lot, and I talked to him and a smaller group about it too when we were there. I asked him, and I was like, well, when the election's over and let's say Trump wins, why would people, like, there's going to be students who are like, well, you already won. Like, why should I join Turning Point now? And I mean, my pitch to them is it's not over. Democrats have ran the White House 12 of the last 16 years. So, I mean, like, it's not over yet just because Trump won now. We have all of these years left to fight, and there's still these crazy, crazy left-leaning views that we're going to battle every day at your school, like everywhere you go to. And then as you get older, it doesn't change anything. Just because Trump wins today does not mean that the elementary schools are still going to be indoctrinating these children, and these high schoolers are still going to be gender fluid. And it's like, it doesn't stop just because Trump won. And then on the other hand, if Kamala wins, my other question for the vice president was, it's like we lost. So now what?
Right.
And I think his response was something like that should be almost an easy sell because so many people should be wanting to get back out. Like the fight, we're so far from done now.
Yeah.
We're doing the grassroots work around the country. And let's say Kamala does win. I mean, we have so much more work to do. I have so many more schools and so many more students to talk to. So if she does win, I mean, my job got harder, I think, maybe. Yeah. But my job got like that much more important.
Yeah, I agree. Let's bring this kind of to a close right here. But I want to ask you if there's a single message based on what you do for a living now with Turning Point that you wanted to get out to people to kind of, I don't know, bring some kind of clarity or some understanding to the topics of, everything that we've discussed here. What would that be?
I would probably say that every vote matters, and every single student, whether high school, college, they matter, and they need to get out and they need to have a voice. I don't even care if they're voting left, but they have to vote. It matters. Every single person can make a change. And whether it's them voting or them being vocal in their classroom for their beliefs, it matters. I mean, that's my goal, is to go to college campus to show these students they have a voice, and to help those students who were like me when I was a freshman and sophomore, like, why would I even vote? Because it doesn't matter. I mean, if you're not going to vote, then don't complain about gas prices. Don't complain about inflation. Don't complain about anything. I mean, for young people that I'm talking to, it's our time and our turn to help get the country back to where it should be.
Yeah.
That's just what I talk about on a daily basis.
I agree. I think to add to that too, I would even say, no matter what direction you vote, just make sure you actually did some fucking research to come to that conclusion and not just go off because of what people are saying on either side. I just think, because I've done this myself, if you do the research, you'll go in the right direction naturally. I'm convinced that if even people who are supporting Kamala or who are left leaning, if you actually dive in and go find the shit to make your arguments against why Trump is so bad and why Kamala is so good, but just actually dig. And I think most people, if they have any inkling of smarts in their brain whatsoever, they will end up finding themselves leaning in this direction. I just feel like too many people are just running off of emotions and running off of, he say, she say, and group think and all this other nonsense. Nobody's actually doing the research, because I tell this story, and I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I was that dude, man. I believed everyone was racist who supported Trump. I believed Trump was racist. I was offended by my in-laws who were Trump supporters, and I went to do some research to rip everyone a new asshole. I was gonna be like, look at this video. Look, I saw this on CNN. I saw this.
You thought I was racist.
Yeah, I thought, this dude's pretending to be my boy, and he's supporting Trump, and he's coming to my gym every day, acting. I'm just like, these motherfuckers are gonna get a tongue lashing from me when I'm done. And I think I spent the whole weekend digging, bro. And by Monday, I was a Trump supporter.
My dad too. He was like, he actually said this once I started working for Turning Point. He was like, I knew we'd make a conservative out of you yet. He was like so scared. Some of my cousins too, they were like, yeah, we thought you were like gone. Like you were too far left. Because growing up too, like it was so easy to just fall into social media, Instagram, TikTok, all that shit, and see what they're trying to force
especially
on
as
you.
a minority, I think.
Yeah, too.
We're
like
really led that way.
And I was telling you a story that school, Linton, North Dakota, they made an effigy. They hung and burned this bag of, it was just I don't even know what kind of bag it was. They filled it with straw and they hung it from a basketball hoop and then started on fire. And on the back of it, they put my name and number. And it sounds bad. It sounds really bad. But it wasn't the football team who did it. There was this girl who hated me at the time. She did the whole thing. And it's
sounds
bad.
racist.
No, it sounds very, very racist.
Did her dad tell her to do it?
No, it sounds very racist. And you know what? At the time too, and I almost feel bad about this today. And I've never even talked. I have some friends from that town, and they know how I feel about it. Like I joke about it. And we joke about it a lot. Like, remember that time we hung and burned you? And I'm like, oh yeah, it was so funny. But it was on WDAY. It was on KX News. It was on every news in North Dakota. And I remember Wednesday night, I go to bed and I get this video sent to our group chat, and our football group chat, who was somebody who had someone from the town on Snapchat. And I was like, damn, I was like, that's supposed to be me right there. That's insane. And then I just I go to bed and I'm like, whatever. And then I wake up Thursday and I had class later that day. And I remember I had texts from our football coach and some of my buddies that my dad had called me 2 times. And I'm like, oh, fuck. What did I do? It's not even 10 o'clock yet. And I get to school and I end up talking to my coach right away and all my teammates. And they were like, it was on the news. It was big. And then by Thursday night, it was on WDAY. They had people come to, that was our walkthrough football practice that day. Because the next day we were traveling to Linton to play them for their homecoming.
Oh, shit.
WDAY sent a crew to our football field to watch us practice and try to talk to me. And I'm so upset about this that I was 17, so I couldn't talk to anybody. My dad wouldn't let me. My football coach, who was a second dad to me, he wouldn't. They're like, you're not talking to anybody. And I was like, they knew I was kind of crazy. I would say some crazy shit too. But I thought it was so entertaining. And then so I go to practice. I'm walking to practice. By this time, everyone's already seen it on the news. Everybody. I'm walking by the elementary coaches, and they're like, go get them. And they were like, it was the biggest thing I think that town's seen in a very, very long time. So I go to practice, and then I was late that day, of course, to practice. I get there, the whole team's on a knee, and they're waiting for me. My coach is like, want to say some words? I'm like, damn, all right. And I'm like, I basically said tomorrow when we travel there, do not fight anybody, do not hit anybody. This time we were 3-0. We ranked 4 in the state or 5 in the state, so we were really good. And I was like, it's not worth it. I'm like, don't hit anybody, please. Don't start a fight. I don't care that much. It's okay. And seeing it on the news, I'm reading these Facebook comments. They say when this shit happens, and definitely wasn't famous, but famous people don't read the comments. I was just reading every single comment. I was liking some because I thought they were funny. And so many comments were damn, why is he doing this? Why is he asking for attention? I'm like, all I did was live. I didn't even do anything. And some comments were that's the most racist thing I've ever seen in my life. This team needs to be executed. Let's get rid of all of them. They should not have done that. This team season needs to be canceled. And the actual players didn't even do anything. So, and I had friends on that team from baseball, and those are still some of my friends today. But the news was we need to cancel this. This is over. This team they're canceled. And we got the opportunity in Oaks to play the game. They were do you want to play the game? Do you feel safe? And I'm I got 25 teammates. We all want to play football. I'm yeah, let's go play the game. I'm we only get so many games a year. And in Linton, every single game in history, I believe, until that game, you're on the same sideline. And then we were the first game, to my knowledge and history, that we were on opposite sidelines because they thought it was going to be just this massive brawl.
Damn.
And the news was just blowing it up. I was like actually scared at some points because all the comments were like, oh, let's go there and let's join in. Like they thought there was going to be an actual riot. So I get off the bus and we park underneath the hoop where they hung the thing from. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, this is like, it was like scary. They asked to talk to me individually, just me and their whole team and their coaches. And my coach asked me, he's like, do you want to do this? I'm like, no, like, absolutely not. Like, this is, have you seen the comments on Facebook? I'm like, I'm not doing that. I don't want to get killed. Right. And then, so I didn't do that. And they wrote me some apology. Although I don't think what they did was racist. That apology was shitty. I was like, fuck that coach for saying that. He was like, we have really good kids. I don't know what happened. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, I agree you have good kids, but fuck you. And even like before we left to get on the bus, I go to our gas station right next to our school to get some Gatorade and shit for the bus. And there's all, you know, in the small towns, I'm sure you know, the old people sit at gas stations. It's like, that's their day. And I'm walking in and they're all like so excited to see me. And they're like, go get them. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm like, damn, I didn't even do anything. And when we get there, I'm walking through their crowd to get down to the field. And it was just like, imagine a spotlight being on you. That's what it felt like. There was cops at the game. There was news crews all around the top of the field. I had some of my best buddies' dads tell me, they were like, don't worry, we're strapped right now. Like, we got around our ankle. And I'm like, holy fuck. Like, we're like, I'm 17. Like, there's like 13-year-olds going to play tonight. And it was an insane story. And like, it was awesome. I mean, nothing happened. I think we won 35-0. So it was like the most boring game ever. And I was a captain that game. I got a picture of me walking into the crowd, 3 or 4 captains and our coach, and their entire crowd like out front and just our backs. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. So I got that printed in my room. Hell yeah. But so we won after the game, and to be honest, that was like the craziest experience of my life. After the game, like I was just fed into my mind that it was the most racist thing in the world, and everyone's like, it's so racist, it's so racist. I know that girl who did it is not racist, but I was like, damn, maybe it like was racist. It was just eating me alive because everyone kept saying it and everyone kept pushing it. Even like the conservative town of Oaks, they were kind of like, damn, that's like, it looked racist for sure. Because they looked at they put my team picture on WDAY and they blacked out the whole thing and put a white little dot on me. I'm the only person who was not white on the entire team. So it looked really, really bad. 100%. But after the game was over, I remember I'm just like, take my helmet off. My dad came down. Never done this before until my last game ever. But I like took my helmet off. I was like so emotional. Not because we won, but I cried in his arms because I'm like, the week was over. It was like, I mean, we won 35-0. I probably didn't play the whole fourth quarter. It was boring. But like all of that attention, all of people talking, I heard Friday morning on my way to school, they were talking on the radio and they were like, I heard my name on the radio and I was like, oh my God, I turned it up and I'm listening and I'm like, holy shit. Like, this is insane. And even now today, like I was telling you earlier, I've showed a lot of Turning Point students this video because they talk about free speech. Where does it stop and start? And I'm like, they use effigy in this example. I'm like, let me pull this example up of an effigy and we'll see like what you think about it. But it was, for a while, I was such a liberal in that moment because I'm like, damn, this is so racist. But no one actually knew that it wasn't the football team. It wasn't done for like in a racial way. But I mean, if you saw the news, it got thousands of views, thousands of comments, and it was like, most racist thing ever happens in North Dakota history here. Yep. And so that's the power of social media. Yeah. But like now today, 100%, it was not a race thing.
Did you talk to that girl after that?
No. I mean, that was...
She didn't apologize or anything?
I think she tried to tell her friends to tell me she was sorry. And I was like, I don't even really care. Like, I got so many Instagram followers overnight from that shit. Like, it was so entertaining. And then my buddies who were in college, they'd be like, damn, you see this thing from Oaks? And he's like, I know that guy. Like, I played football with him. It's so funny. Like, now if my friends just make fun of me about it, like, I'll still see the news articles sometimes. They'll screenshot the dummy and send it into our group chat just to troll me. And I'm like, I don't care. Yeah. But at the time, everyone was like, this, like, are you okay? Like, we got to get you some counseling. And I'm like, I'm fine.
It didn't help that you were like of the only minority.
100%. It made it look really, really, really bad.
I mean, in Puerto Ricans are basically like Latin black dudes, yep. Right? So.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to see it, but it seems a little racist.
Pull it up.
Others say it's a disturbing and racist act. Our sports director, Joey Lamar, spoke to the Linton head coach this evening. Joey, what'd you find out?
Thanks, Chad. As you said, this was a homecoming tradition that went a little too far. I spoke with Linton HMB football coach Paul Keeney, who immediately expressed remorse and said this was an unfortunate mistake that he wished never happened. This video shot in Linton depicts an effigy of an Oaks football player hanging from a basketball hoop. Seconds later, students light fire to the football jersey with the number 55 on it. That is the number of Oaks football player Dalton Nelson. Oaks players will play Linton HMB for homecoming tomorrow night. When I spoke to Coach Keeney, he said that he has already written a letter of apology to the player, the entire team, and their school. Also, Coach Keeney said he and his captains hope to meet with Dalton Nelson before the game to let him know this was not done intentionally. Coach Keeney also said that about 8 to 10 players were at the burning, but no coaches were present. He also said no players will be suspended for tomorrow night's game. Chad?
Joey Lamar, thanks for that. I know you guys will have a crew out at that game. We'll see if
Doesn't mean they are racist. With that being said, like just because you do something racist doesn't make you racist all the way. If you do something racist consistently, then you're probably
maybe it was just a joke.
That's the thing.
They say they do. They said they do it like every year, and I know the next year.
Were you the star player?
I was good. There was people better than me.
Okay.
Why
was she hating you?
we used to be friends.
Used to be.
Yeah, we were friends before that, and then
Wait,
when all that
so
happened,
I don't know.
so
dude.
you were
we were
involved.
friends.
You were involved with each other, and no
talked to
longer
her, yeah.
you no
Then we
longer
no
were
longer were.
involved. Okay,
Yep,
so
and
she
that's
had
what
a
led to
thing
that.
against you.
You
Yeah.
do something?
I don't know. I was like 17.
So-
I don't know what I did.
No, hold up. You're
I
on
don't
trial
think
now,
that's-
but we got.
That's not what this is
That's what
about.
I'm saying. I'd have to know.
It's
But
not
if
what
you
this is
did
about.
nothing, then they're just not
I
friends.
probably did something. I mean, it could have been.
I
to
mean,
that
in
extent
his
where
in
you-
Skirting
high
around
school-
the answer. You're
Yeah.
skirting around
Yeah,
it.
this is my political side coming out.
Yeah,
of
see,
it.
he's skirt, yeah.
He's
I
like,
don't
I
know
plead
what
the
I did.
fifth. It was
No,
racist. Now
I'm
that I
not
think about it.
defending
I had people tell me they were like, you should get a court case over this, make some
Get
money. And I'm
nothing,
like,
dude. No way.
damn, that's like really.
But
It's that easy?
that's the kind of like thought process they love to. I mean, look back to George Floyd, right? They gassed up culture to believe that there was so much racial shit happening in America, and like you said, you kind of got a little hyped about it. You're like, oh shit, like I'm everywhere, I'm famous, I'm somebody right now.
Yep.
That's how they made black culture feel during that period when everything went crazy, and all they really did was convince them all to go out and commit crimes.
Did you post a black square on Instagram?
No.
I will admit I did it.
I did it.
You did?
I admit it. I did.
No, I did too. I
Not
did
because
You did too?
too. I thought I had to.
Bro,
I
that's
didn't
crazy.
at all.
dude, I don't know. I was showing support for my brothers, dude.
Dude, I had so many white friends who were like,
Dude, why are you not doing it?
Actually, most of my friends, I only think I have like one black friend because I just grew up in a small town, North Dakota. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's my entire life been surrounded by white people. So I'm a huge supporter of white people. But like they were all posting this and they were like, people were tagging me and shit. I'm like, fuck yeah. It was
Now
so
that's
funny.
racist.
It was a crazy time, but people back then were like,
Was a crazy time.
we just solved
Bro,
racism.
I could imagine. I got you, brother. Just like in the Snapchat group chat. Just
Take
dude.
me.
Yep. Hey, I'm so sorry that you suck at life and you can't do anything good because your skin color, man.
Yeah.
But here's
feel
a
really
square
bad
on
for you.
Instagram for you. Hopefully that
Yeah.
cheers you up. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Man, well, Dalton, I really appreciate you coming on the show, bro. This was a good conversation. I
Hey,
appreciate your insights and
Forgot to let me bring up my 2 points.
Oh yeah.
You
Okay,
forgot to bring up your
PS.
two points.
Go.
We started going real quick. Point number 1, John and I were talking, and I'm gonna take off November 6th, and we're gonna have some drinks on election night. So I don't know where you're gonna be, probably off somewhere.
I think I'll be just getting back from my ballot chasing event.
You need to take off the next day so we can have some drinks here.
What day
because
is that?
I don't know. It's on a Tuesday or something.
Oh,
The,
shit.
the drinking is so we can either celebrate
Or
or so we can withstand the loss
Are
and
you
not
guys going
go
to sit
crazy.
here and drink and do a podcast?
I mean, maybe, yeah.
it's a live
Why not?
pod, baby. Live pod. Tune in November
sounds
5th. Live pod for the election.
I don't know if we'll do a live pod because if she doesn't win, it's going to be a bad episode, bro.
No, people need to see
Like
us real and
sports.
raw.
I think it'll be funny.
Real and raw.
At least.
Yeah, it could be. We'll
If
see.
she wins, it'll be funny for a second.
So, and then the other point was shout out to my girl and my teammate, Caitlin Clark. 25 points. Game 2.
Yeah, she did.
We got to
good. She
stop
did
giving
good.
this. We got to stop.
Dude,
What?
I
you
don't want
watch
to be
that
a
game?
part of us
No.
giving them.
did you watch the game?
Yeah, watch it.
Dude, she did not get pulled out of that game. She played the whole entire game. She didn't.
Yeah.
She didn't sit on the
She's
bench.
bad.
one
I listened
time.
to your
don't-
podcast the other day when you guys were talking about it. I think you were saying like how she like they didn't want a black person. They wanted it to be a black person. And like now that she's a white person, I mean, like, do you think that's why she's not getting that much love because she's white?
Well, I think she's getting plenty of love. It's just the
by
people.
the players.
Yeah, the players. Like again, yes,
I don't know,
because
if you go in the comments, like I said,
it's white privilege this, white privilege that everywhere that these people are commenting, which is like, how is it white privilege if a white person's better at basketball than
I
you?
mean, basketball is a black dominated
Right,
sport.
yes.
Especially like WNBA.
Yeah.
It would take me a while to name like 5 white players.
Yeah.
Before Caitlin Clark, I would know 0 players. But like now with her, I mean, it's
You can't deny what she's done to the game, bro. You
She is
can't
the
deny it.
greatest women's basketball
She
player
is
I've
the
ever
Jordan
seen.
of the WNBA, man. Like that's just facts.
I've never even seen her play.
Statistically, it's that way.
We've seen
It's not
clips.
just. It's not just us like
never seen
favoring
her
her or
You're
liking
paying
her.
attention. That's the point.
I've
Like that
only,
was-
only on social media,
That
never
doesn't
seen her
matter.
play
You're
a game.
paying
Never
attention.
turned it on the
You
TV.
would have not seen any of those clips on social media if it wasn't for Caitlin Clark, because you damn well know that you didn't see one clip prior to Caitlin Clark
Passionate about Caitlin
I
Clark.
still don't watch. I don't.
She's my
I'm still,
teammate.
just because they're clips doesn't mean it's not like a WNBA
No,
fucking
the
Instagram.
point is that there was no clips being shared or shown.
So that's what
at
I'm saying.
all.
We need to stop talking about it because
Nope.
I don't want to be a part of giving them anything.
Caitlin Clark, baby.
Giving the WNBA.
Yeah, I'm not trying
Oh,
to.
oh, you're a bigot.
John and I are going to a game.
I
next
am.
year.
You're a bigot.
I
huh?
am a bigot.
a bigot.
Not because they're women, but because I'm not gonna make their sport famous, bro.
Oh, you don't have to.
That's crazy. That's
We
crazy.
don't need you.
Not for free.
John and I are going to a game next year. so-
Dion can't even play basketball.
I can't. I give you that. You got me.
Hell yeah. All right. Let's end it here. We're about 2 hours in. So again, man, appreciate your time, Dawn. It was really
For sure,
cool to
this
have
is
you
awesome,
on, man.
guys.
So
I had a lot of fun.
yeah, we'll have a lot more conversations, I'm sure, outside of this now that I know.
100%.
Yeah, awesome. All right, guys, don't forget to check us out, like, subscribe, tell your friends about us. Don't tell your friends about us. Talk good, talk bad. Doesn't really matter as long as you're talking about us. Peace.